What's up, guys? Sorry for the darkness. It is 8:33 p.m. I have a little accessory LED clip-on light for my phone, but it's not working anymore. I clipped it on here and put it up there, and then it burnt out. So I've got to buy a new replacement one of those for the occasional Facebook Live that I do in the dark. But yeah, 8:33, driving home from Kapolei cleaning. I usually try to get out of here, try to get it here at 3:30 so that I can clean in the light. Honestly, I get pretty spooked out by a giant empty construction site at night. So once I got into cleaning, it was fine, but there is like a outdoor bathroom that I have to walk through a bunch of construction equipment, and there's like feral cats around, and it's a little creepy. And one time when I was doing that outside bathroom, I forgot to close the main gate, and somebody stopped by and then scared the living junk out of me because I thought I was at this giant site alone, but somebody walked up to me and I was just like, ugh. I think they said hello, and I had my back turned to them, and it's pretty frightening. So anyway, the reason I was up here so late was this week I am teaching in a new initiative from YWAM Honolulu. They're taking their any new staff that are coming into the YWAM Honolulu. If they're coming onto staff, they have to do this thing called the Gateway Quarter. So they're doing their normal responsibilities, and then they're just getting some small group training, which I think is awesome that they're doing that. So this week they're talking about support raising. So I've been talking a lot about fundraising and support raising these past 2 weeks. I taught in the School of Missions and Evangelism last week, and this week I'm talking to the Gateway Quarter. So from 1:30 to 4, I taught on fundraising to a few guys who are new to staff, and that was a good time. I actually went like 14 minutes over, thinking it went until 4:30, and then I got a text message and realized that it was only till 4. But they were so polite, they were so respectful, they just let me keep going, which is funny. So I apologized and let them go after that. So yeah, that was part of the afternoon. I'm gonna flip-flop here, and as we're talking about time, I realized that I really value my time. I think I always have. I've always tried to strive to be efficient. Sorry, my eye's bothering me right now. Strive to be efficient, and just I want to use my time wisely and efficiently and make the most of it. That's probably just my East Coast Maryland upbringing, where you have to schedule coffee dates 3 weeks in advance, and if you're going to meet with someone, it's going to be exactly an hour. You're going to show up on time, and you're going to wrap that meeting up at the hour mark and no longer, and you're going to move on to your next thing. So I'm sure that that's, my value for time and efficiency is probably just because of where I was raised and everything. But lately, I have just felt like I don't have much ownership of my time. I think part of that is having a child, and I think that's just the reality of things. I think I completely underestimated what a life-transforming thing having a child would be. I thought, this is not going to be that big of a deal. We're just going to add another baker to the family, and no big deal. But I think I completely underestimated that. I literally feel like I'm just starting to be aware of things this month. So our son turns a year next month, and I think it's taken 11 months for me to even have any semblance of consciousness again, which is pretty amazing because it hasn't even been me that's been getting up at night with him for this past year. It's been Jess. So props to my wife, who has been getting up in the middle of the night multiple times with my son and hasn't gotten good proper sleep for a whole entire year. I'm kind of taking over those duties now, and it's amazing how when you don't sleep, you don't function well. So I found myself walking halfway to the laundry machine, and I didn't have any laundry in my hand, even though I completely intended to do laundry. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So there's that. But it made me think about the question, do you feel like you're living your life for your own priorities and that you have choice in what you do and you're spending your time on what you want to be spending it on? Or do you feel like you are living your life for other people and for other people's priorities. I just wondered where other people were at on that scale of things. So that's just something I was thinking about. But so back to why I was getting to work late and getting back home late as well is right after the Gateway Quarter support raising stuff, I interviewed Mark Smith on Facebook Live. So the last 2 Facebook Lives were my interview with him. He's a biblical archaeologist and historian, and he's in Hawaii right now doing some research for his upcoming book on Hawaii temples, the heiaus here. And so we went out to dinner with him and his wife last night. Jess and I did. One of the rare occasions we've had an evening. One of the SOME students so graciously hung out with our son for us, and that was very nice of her. So we could go connect with them, and then I just asked him if he had some time for an interview. So I got to interview him, and we talked about his latest book that he just released called The Final Days of Jesus, and just some of the super interesting stuff. So I just encourage you, if you're interested in any of that, to check out that interview that I did with him. That interview I think started about 4:30ish, and I think went until about 6. We kind of hung out and talked after the interview as well. So I didn't even leave town until maybe 6:30, I think. No, it had to have been earlier than that. So anyway, getting up here and cleaned in the dark and getting home. I was also thinking about just kind of my why for cleaning, and if left to my own devices and just doing it for money, there's no way I would be cleaning these construction sites. But I really feel like this job and the additional income that it provides is going to be legacy changing for the Bakers, and I'm really doing it for my son, and that motivates me to keep doing it. So it's not convenient. I don't like getting home as late as I'm going to after having been busy all day. Not a whole lot of time to myself, which is something that I really value, and maybe that's just a right that I need to die to. I listened to the Bible Project podcast episode today on the Sabbath. My friend David Elliott, who's on staff with Jess's Biblical Core Course, recommended that today, and it was so good. So also really highly recommend that episode. That's the Bible Project podcast, and they have an episode on Sabbath, and I think they're going to do a series on it. So it was super good just to hear about the Hebrew thinking of Jewish thinking of Sabbath, Shabbat, and that's something that we feel like the Lord has asked us to start celebrating. We're not super perfect about it, but it is really nice and a way to feel like when we don't have much control over our time, to block out that time, which is inconvenient, to say there's never a convenient time to rest as a family, but we're gonna carve this out and do that. So that's been something that's really refreshing, and I want to really get back into that intentional thankfulness and kind of tighten up our routine with that as well. So Jess and I just both, she's volunteering full-time with the Biblical Core Course, and that's just keeping her super busy, and I'm working a few jobs as well. And then if one of us is working, we have some childcare, which is amazing, that the YWAM base provides for us. But if that's not there, then we're kind of juggling that. And so Jess and I aren't getting to spend a lot of quality time together either. So this is just definitely the busiest season we've ever been in, and I just kind of hit a point today where I was like, we both just feel like we've got to figure out our schedules, because we just always feel like there's not much margin in our schedules. So that's something we're thinking about. But in this whole process of thinking about time and rights and offense, I think those are the three things that I'm thinking about. Even in the middle of the night, when my son wakes me up now. He's still not sleeping through the night. Last night I slept in his room, and he woke up at 1 and woke up at 5, and he needs to be held. And I'm just not down with the cry it out method, and that's, everyone's got parenting advice, but I just don't think I don't feel comfortable doing that for my son, and so I'm not going to do that. So yeah, but just thinking about time, and I feel like I have a right to a full night's sleep, and that's it. You know, you get offended if you feel like you have a right to something and you don't get it. So I don't. I have zero right to a full night's sleep, and so there should be no reason for offense there. And so just changing that mindset as well. I wonder how much of the offense in our lives is because we believe we have a right to something that we're not getting, and I wonder if we do truly have a right to that thing, or if we're possibly called to relinquish that right as well. That's always been a humbling teaching that YWAM does on the Lordship of Christ and the whole aspect of relinquishing your rights is a pretty sobering concept to think about. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about tonight as I'm driving home from work at 8:44 p.m. Luckily there's not much traffic. I'm going to get home and shower, and hopefully my son's in bed, spend a little bit of time with my wife, and then I'm going to camp out with my son in his room so that my wife can get as much sleep as she can. So there it is. Please go and check out the interview I did with Mark Smith if you're interested in biblical archaeology. I asked him about dinosaurs too. We had a fun little chat about dinosaurs. So yeah, there it is. I appreciate if you're watching this, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, have a good evening. Goodbye.